Vikings at Chargers. Of course, we're going to build a lineup around these ideas at the end, but LA is currently 3.5-point home favorites per FanDuel Sportsbook, and it's looking like a ton of people are hammering over in this one. Not a ton of sharp action on either side right now, but currently 91% of the money is on the over in this one, even though we're only looking at 45% of the betting tickets. So, any I guess initial thoughts on this one? We talked a little bit about Mike Williams in the video with Harmon earlier this week, but curious what you think about him, because I think he's going to be like a big topic this week.
Yeah, I mean, I think I could see people coming in. All 4 of Minnesota's games on the road have gone bonkers. They've all gone over the game total, and all 4 of their games at home have gone under. Kind of a weird, wonky early season split. I mean, there's nothing to it. It's just for fun. You can bring that up to your whoever you're watching the game with Sunday and say that, and you'll look cool. I actually like Big Mike because I'm of the opinion that I've been able to diagnose Big Mike so far this season, his highs and lows in the worksheet. If you follow the worksheet, there's been a big signal the past 2 weeks that those were not matchups for him to be good in, and he wasn't.
So we kind of could have expected some of this that's happening then?
This is what I'm telling myself internally, because I write these games up and these players up every week, and so far out of the 4 duds Mike Williams has laid, 3 of them I've been on as terrible matchups for him and more signal for Keenan Allen. The Raiders game, man.
Let's go.
The Raiders game, the Patriots game, and this past game against the Eagles, I thought were all Keenan Allen games based on where teams win. Some of the stuff we talked about, like on my podcast that I did with Mike Leone, right? Like what kind of defensive scheme are these teams running, and how does it impact what offenses might do to them? The only other game he completely flopped that looked like a good signal was the Ravens game, and he didn't practice, and everyone died on the Chargers anyways. No one did good, so it didn't matter. So I mean, it's halfway through the season. He could just have been reverted to this volatile boomer bust type of guy, but I still think that the Chargers have attack defenses where they've been the most vulnerable because they have a progressive head coach, and Keenan Allen has had 32 and 35% team target shares the last 2 weeks because of that. He had the optimal matchup. This week, I believe Mike Williams has an optimal matchup. Not that it's a bad matchup for Keenan Allen in any sense, because the Vikings secondary is so kind of depleted. But look at what the Vikings and how they're defending perimeter receivers. Look at where all the big games have come from. CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper, 122 yards. Marquise Brown, 116 yards. DK Metcalf, 107 yards and a touchdown. Jamar Chase, 101 yards and a touchdown. When they're giving up the bag, the Vikings, they're giving up huge plays, and they're giving up to boundary wide receivers. And they're not going to have Harrison Smith for the second week in a row due to COVID. Literally one of the best ball hawking safeties in the NFL. So I do think that there is a signal here that it does open back up for Big Mike to have a more positive outlook in terms of where he tactically has an advantage versus the defense. And he still leads the NFL in end zone targets. He still even had one last week. I mean, if he catches an end zone target, he still has an okay game. But, he ran into Slay, the Slay maker last week, and he was kind of nuked until Slay got hurt. And then by that point, we talk about the Eagles. They don't give up huge plays. That's what they're predicated on. It's the whole defense on. They get bled by tight ends, and they get bled by slot receivers and running backs. That's why Judy is in play this week. That's why he kind of hit it on him in the first video. So yeah, I am on Big Mike this week. I know there are other players in this game, but there's my Big Mike spiel. I don't know if it'll work, but I'm going to take full credit, and I'm going to loop back here to this one.
We'll clip it. We'll give you full credit, Reese. I'm not scared to do that. And also, man, his price, like that, it's almost better that he didn't score last week because we got this price now. Like they've aggressively been moving him back and forth. Now he's all the way down to 6,900 on FanDuel, man. Like that's like around guys like DJ Moore and Adam Thielen. There were times this year where he was priced around like AJ Brown and Stephon Diggs. It's just like, it's a lot different when you can kind of take a shot on him down there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's the easy mini, right? Like even if you don't want to go full on last game, he's the easy mini with Dalvin Cook, right? Like easy, like because you have your 8,500 guy, then you have your mid price receiver.
For sure, I'm with you. So anything else stand out? I guess we can move on from the Chargers if you want, but is there anyone else that you really like besides Big Mike, or are we just locking that guy in?
Yeah, I am probably going to go to the death on this one. I'm going to test my own, my own foresight. I'm going to test that. I'm going to be heavy on Big Mike this week.
All right. So well, it looks like Cook probably is playing, right? Obviously, all of those issues that are going on doesn't look like it's going to affect him at least this week. It was looking like we might get some Alexander Madison at a really cheap price point. But man, this Chargers team can be run on, right? So the Cook has to be like a really big part of your thought process this week.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, people will talk about the Chargers. I mean, we talked about it a number of times in the show when they've come up about how they invite teams to run the football on them. They're going to give you light boxes. And the thing I've been chasing with Cook for a little bit. I wasn't really into him last week because of the Ravens matchup. But so the Vikings right now have 19 offensive touchdowns, and 16 of them are passing. It's the highest split in the NFL. 84% of offensive touchdowns are passing touchdowns. NFL base average is 62%. So the Vikings are flying way high, and I've been looking for that to regress, right?
Mhm.
Dalvin Cook has 2 touchdowns on the season.
That's not going to continue.
So, I mean, it's a bummer that lines up with he's got a great matchup, and I'm still playing the regression game because more people are going to be on the matchup than looking at that.
Yep.
That, hey, the touchdown splits line up to where they should have more rushing touchdowns.
People are going to back into the regression argument, even if they have no idea that that's part of it. Yeah, that's right.
So I'm very sad that this has happened. He almost got there last week. First of all, he almost had like a 95-yard touchdown where Justin Jefferson's running down a windmill on guys.
Like I saw the videos on Twitter. I mean, I still have no idea what he was. Is he just like having fun out there, like just like freewheeling?
I think
down
he
the
was
field?
just running. Like, if you ever like tried to run as fast as you possibly can, and your body
that can't be it. He had to have been like just trying to distract it. I don't know. That can't be how he runs. There's no way.
No, well, I'm talking about like when you try to like run faster than your station, and like your body just can't be controlled. I made the joke that like he knew if you can't win a fight, you have to let the other person know you're crazy. Like you can't fight me. Like he was like literally doing that, but and then Dalvin got stuck on the 1-yard line before Cousins snuck his in. So like you see how this is like just playing into they can't get these passing or rushing touchdowns for him. But it's a great week to chase him. Great matchup. Love that. The receivers are tough, but also have more of an opening up because of the injuries the Chargers have. So the Chargers are another one of these teams, right? They sit back. They want to play shell coverage. They don't want to give up big plays. They're actually one of the best teams in the NFL in terms of not giving up big plays. What we saw last week, the back end was banged up, and Jalen Hurts actually had some success. Honestly, the Eagles probably could have thrown a little more in that game because Asante Samuel is out with a concussion. Michael Davis did not play in the game due to a groin injury. He's not going to play this week, it looks like, either. His backup, Ryan Smith, tore his ACL in the game last week. So like they're down 3 cornerbacks like immediately in that game. And I haven't checked to see Asante is still in concussion protocol early in the week. Obviously, Michael Davis was trending towards doubtful. Ryan Smith is out. He tore his ACL. So some of the splits that we've seen with the Chargers could be compromised moving forward just because they don't have a lot of cornerback depth. And you start to see them give up some big plays for Justin Jefferson. He would be the guy I would kind of look towards because if you look at Thielen's splits versus man versus zone, they're not very enticing to kind of go back to him. But we've seen Clint Kubiak come out because Justin Jefferson has 9 targets the past 2 weeks, not in a game, not like in both games combined.
It's not great.
Clint Kubiak was like, what kind of question? Like, that can't happen, right? Like, we can't do this. Like, we got to get him the football more. So he would be the guy I would kind of lean to if you're paying up on the Vikings side on that angle.
Yeah.
And you can always play Eckler. The Vikings are another team that are terrible against the run. These teams are 31st and 32nd EPA against the run.
Wow. I didn't realize it was that much on the Vikings side, too. That's super interesting. And obviously, if we check out Run the Sim, simulating this 10,000 times this slate, Dalvin Cook in 17% of the optimals, only Jonathan Taylor and Dearness Johnson at a higher frequency as of now. So they're totally on board with everything you're putting down here, Reeves. We are going to build a FanDuel team, but before we do that, I want everyone to pause this video. Let me know in the comments how you would stack up the Minnesota and LA Chargers game in DFS this week. Reeves, are we going Minnesota heavy here, or are we going to the Charger side?
We're gonna go Herbert, our boy Herbert. We didn't talk about Herbert, but Herbert's turned into like the greatest GPP tournament player, right? Because like he has 3 games this year. He's been the first or second highest scoring quarterback, and then he's had 4 weeks as the QB 18 or lower. So like you're getting all of it or nothing.
That's nice, and you're normally getting a significant discount on ownership too. So I mean, it's really hard to, I guess, plug holes in that. And he's a 4 p.m. guy. We love the 4 p.m. guys, Reeves. We can make moves at that point after we get some more information. So Big Mike, I'm putting him in because I know that he will be in your lineup. Are we going Dalvin other side?
Yeah, throw Dalvin in the flex because he's the 4 p.m.er. So we'll throw him in the flex. And honestly, if Keenan ends up getting in the box, we still have some attachment with Herbert. So
that's true. Yeah. Do we probably want to double him though? Do we want to add Eckler in or one of these I guess thinner plays like one of the tight ends?
I don't know if we do double him, right?
If you were to double him, since this is a stacks video, Reeps, who would it be?
See, the problem is we're like, if you look at Keenan and Big Mike's game, like we have almost a Lockett Metcalf thing going.
True.
Right?
So yeah, maybe if there's the true ceiling game for Mike Williams, it really does negatively affect some of these other guys, specifically Keenan. So I'm with you.
So I mean, just by that, like, because we always like, well, we'll double stack Russ, right? The ball only goes those two guys, but we've talked about it before. They don't hit together, True. And so far this season, Big Mike and Keenan have not gotten there together. So let's leave this one solo. Let's leave it with just the stack and the run back.
Okay, sounds good. Let's since we have, I guess it's not a crazy amount of salary because we're throwing Dalvin in there. Do we want to just keep playing Dearness Johnson on every team? What if Chubb plays? That's going to be terrible. We can't.
I mean, we'll know if he's going to play because what? We'll know there's a certain time during this week where if Chubb hasn't passed at least one test, then
True, because he needs to pass two,
then
right?
He can't pass two.
Yeah.
So we'll at least know. So I mean, he's the guy I'm having the most trouble with because he feels like an archetype of a running back I would typically want to fade in tournaments.
Mm-hmm.
But he's 5,400.
So I guess, do you disagree with me on the Singletary stuff then? Would you rather play Singletary at that price?
Not really. He's also a guy that I mean, it's just crazy because Dearness Johnson, he's so cheap and he opens so much up. Okay, so he's hard to get away from, but he's gonna be so popular.
True. But I mean,
let's put him in because we'll put him in because he's so damn cheap.
He is, man. It's just I've been trying to be okay with some of these plays because on FanDuel specifically, he needs to get in the box once, and you're so far ahead of everything. And what's unfortunate in some of these really small field stuff, if he gets in the box twice, you're completely dead if you don't have him at that price.
If you don't have him, it's a wrap.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, if he gets in the box once, if you don't have him, it's gonna be a problem at his salary because he's gonna touch the ball, assuming all three of these running backs are out. And it's just him and Brian Hill. It's going to be like it was on that Thursday night game. He's going to have 20 to 25 touches.
It's true.
I mean, you just have to get in the end zone. You can be inefficient at 5,400 and still get yards.
That's true.
At that many touches. I mean, the Browns. But my problem is he's going to be so heavily owned. So here's where we can get our Zeke exposure, right? He fits in here. So we can do Zeke and Pitts on this team.
I like that mini a lot. We're going to have to find some cheaper guys, but I think we'll be able to do it.
I have one cheap guy that I want to see if you're into and throwing a dart here. He's going to definitely be sub 5.
Okay. Give me a defense here first so we can kind of at least piece our way through that. We played Tennessee on the last one. Or we moved away from Tennessee. So we could go Tennessee because they're kind of mid-range, 4,100. We could go Green Bay. We talked about them as well. And let's throw in Tennessee for now because it's like mid-range. And then we got 6,100 per wide receiver slot left. So let's talk about this value guy you like then.
Well, I think here because if we're pretty chalky and we think guys can get there as a one-off like sub 5% guy. What about James Washington?
Oh man, so James Washington has like a special place in my heart. One of the biggest hits I've ever had in DFS was on that Showdown slate with Pittsburgh and Buffalo last year with the Stephon Diggs explosion game, 3 touchdowns. But also there was a point of this game where James Washington was the only one that scored for the Steelers. So, and he's like 1%. And this is the guy that my girlfriend picked. Like, oh yeah, he's cute. Throw him in there. I was like, all right, whatever. He was like 500. He was like one of the cheapest plays on the board. And then he scores in the first half and we won literally all the money. So yeah, I mean, you don't have to talk me into that, man. I'm down, especially if obviously we know that Claypool is now going to be out for multiple weeks. We know that there's still no Juju. Like everyone is, I mean, you're leveraging as well, just all the Deontay people.
And people are going to play Fryer with a ton this week.
So all the ownership is literally going to the other 3 weapons and not James Washington. So if he gets there, even with a touchdown, like it's basically leveraging you on the rest of those chalky pieces. So I don't hate it, man, at all. And that leaves us 7,100. So we can go Terry McLaurin, Lockett. We can't
get to Mike Evans though.
Can't get to Evans. Can't even add to our correlation with Keenan, even though we decided we don't want to do that. We could move down on defense if we wanted to, but we're kind of in that, like that Terry McLaurin range.
I would love to get to Mike Evans to have. We built this is because we don't take Mike Evans. This will be 2 rosters where we have no attachment to Tom Brady.
Yeah, that's really scary. So let's put Evans in there, and 3,800 gives us either the Eagles at Denver, gives us Carolina at Arizona, Jacksonville at Indy. Yeah, I mean it's not great down here this week. There's not like a really cheap defense that I like this week. I'll say that.
Yeah, I would still say like Carolina is the best out of those.